Chairman Murphy, and it's nice to be back in the Homeland Security Subcommittee, and great to see Senator Britt there with you. You'll be both be great partners, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for being a good partner when I was a ranking member, so I appreciate that. And welcome, Mr. Secretary. I'm just going to cut kind of to the chase here, because this is always something when I was had the lead on our side, is the number of border agents. We're always putting more money in. We put more money in this last time for 150 new border agents. In 2025, request asked for 250 more, 150 officers to staff ports of entry, 135 processing coordinators. I would like to say, just as a statement, that I don't think the solution to the border issue and to bringing these astronomical numbers down is to just keep adding more people to process more people, because that obviously is not going to have the desired result. But I would like to know, with the significant amount of funding that you were granted, what is the number of border agents right now? Is it going up? Is it at your max? You're allowed to have 21,370, I believe. So where are you on that?
We are hiring actively, Senator Capito. I will have to get to you the specific number. I concur with you that it's not just personnel that is going to solve the challenge at our southern border, which is why the bipartisan legislation not only included additional resources, but also fundamentally needed legislative changes that would have really changed the system and the number of people we encounter in the first instance.
Yeah, how's the morale and retention? I mean, is that an issue? Obviously, when you were trying to recruit, it's got to be.
Morale has been an issue in our Department of Homeland Security ever since I joined it, and well before then. We are very focused on workforce well-being and are hoping that the well-being of our treasured employees is actually strengthening and improving despite the stresses and the strains they undergo in their very difficult work.
Yeah, well, I would assume that you would know whether you were close to your peak to the allowable amount of agents. I mean, are you close to that number, or are you far away? Are you losing more people than you're gaining?
We are.
Give me a sense of that.
We are close. We are close, but I don't want to misspeak and cite a figure that would not be accurate to you, and I will provide that to you with swiftness.
We'll follow up. I do have a question about the drugs and also the surveillance. Automated surveillance, but I do want to get to this one for my 7 airports that lost your TSA law enforcement reimbursement program, where all of our 7 commercial airports relied on for various law enforcement services. Small airports just aren't able to provide the manpower here, and obviously we were relying on this. What do you say to those airports across the country where this was cut? They now have $100,000 and $150,000 budgets and holes in their budgets to try to do this. What was the reasoning behind that? Certainly doesn't sound like a safety issue. It doesn't sound like it's making our airports more safe.
No, I think, Senator, are you speaking of the fact that we sometimes rely on smaller airports to provide the security personnel instead of us?
Yes.
Yes. With respect to the airports in your jurisdiction, I'll have to follow up with you on that. From a fundamental policy perspective, if we had the resources, we would devote the personnel to.
Well, apparently you have had the resources in the past, and these were just cut this year. Our airport was notified maybe a month ago, maybe when we passed this last bill, that their help with law enforcement agent. So that would be like if somebody's coming through TSA and there's a gun in a backpack found, for instance. That law enforcement agent then would come in and help the TSA do whatever the local law enforcement would be doing, and apparently we're missing that, and seems like a pretty critical aspect.
Senator, I addressed this issue last year, I believe. I am disappointed to hear that it remains an issue, and I will circle back with you after I address it internally.
Okay, thank you. On the, I know Senator Baldwin asked about fentanyl, and really concerned about what we see going on there. And so I don't want to act like that's a de minimis question. It's not. But this autonomous surveillance towers issue is something I think would be helpful if you've got manpower shortages, if people are coming between the ports. They obviously are. Apparently your budget is not reflected any kind of plus up in that area that would fortify and help us interdict in those areas. What's your position on the autonomous surveillance towers and how helpful they have been and would be as force multipliers?
Senator, the automated surveillance towers, the ASTs, have been force multipliers. They have been effective. We are focusing right now our resources on the non-intrusive inspection technology, given the fact that the great majority of fentanyl that is smuggled into our country comes in through the ports of entry in commercial trucks and passenger vehicles.
Mm-hmm. I think you told me last time that I did ask about how many trucks were being interdicted inspected, and you noted that 70%, but you didn't give me an exact figure at that time. But let's see, what percentage of cars are actually screened for drugs coming through the ports of entry? Do you have an update on that, or does that sound like the same figure as last year, or has it gone up?
I apologize, Senator. I'll get you that data.
Okay, I'm striking out here. All right, thank you.
Actually, I am.
Senator Shaheen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Secretary, thank you for being